Santa Claus. You could tell by the blue hair.
Jamie's dream team played Santa Claus for burn victim Shane Scott and his family in Aliquippa. The 15-year-old just came home Tuesday after a 6-week stay in the burn unit of Shriners Hospital in Cincinnati. The shower of signed Steeler memorabilia he received was a nice addition to the gift Shane is most thankful for.
Being here and getting to see my whole family.
While Shane recovers from burns over 80% of his body, he's staying at his aunt's house because it's handicap accessible. His parents are looking for a house, and the dream team gave them a new stove for when they find one.
So what are you most thankful for this Christmas?
For my son. Definitely for my son. For having him. He's still with us.
And I think there's going to be something out there in this world big that he's going to do for somebody else.
18-year-old Jamie Holmes, the founder of Jamie's Dream Team, knows what it's like to be a patient. She's undergone 20 surgeries of her own for congenital birth defects in her organs.
You don't know how good it feels. My daughter's had several operations, and we totally understand what they're going through. And that's why we started our organization, because we've been there.
Thank you for praying for my son. Because without all that, I believe he wouldn't be here.
Servicemen from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and now in increasing numbers, Iraq. A growing number of men and women taking their place alongside their slightly older colleagues.
There's nothing like a young man or any man in age in a uniform representing the country.
The annual parade down the main streets of Lawrenceville draws a crowd every year, no matter what the weather. Folks honoring a father or grandfather. It's just as likely these days that onlookers are supporting a brother or a son.
I call them kids because I'm 44 and they're all, I look at them, they're 19 and they're 20 years old, and it's a scary thing.
Lisa Peluso's 18-year-old nephew just joined the Army. She knows it's only a matter of time before he'll see action in Iraq.
I'm very proud of him for enlisting, but I'm afraid. I know my mother's the same way. My brother's very proud of him.
Vietnam veteran Joe Sobolak brings his family to the parade every year, rain or shine. It's his way of showing support for those overseas, even if he doesn't agree with the war.
If I could tell my government to do like the rest of the country, stay away from war and try to resolve things, it would be a much happier place to live in.
Inside nearby Allegheny Cemetery, the parade ends with a solemn reminder of those who paid the ultimate price.
I was lucky my son came home, but you always have that worry that he may go back.
I thank him for his service, thank everybody for their service, and keep them in our prayers.
At Allegheny Cemetery in Lawrenceville, Cindy McGrath, Fox 53, 10 o'clock news.
Initially, the two undercover cops responded to Race Street after hearing gunshots. They found a man lying in a yard with leg wounds and learned a possible suspect was heading to the nearby Homewood North housing project. A few minutes later, they spotted 19-year-old Keith Carter on foot and armed with a semi-automatic handgun.
The officers began to slow the car down, at which time Mr. Carter began rapidly firing his gun directly into the vehicle that the officers were seated in. The officers were able to stop the car, get out of the car, take a tactical position behind the vehicle, where they then began firing rapidly back at the suspect.
Police estimate at least 100 shots were exchanged, but neither cop was hit, and neither was Carter, who escaped into an apartment. Police surrounded the building and talked him out without incident. He's now sitting in jail on 2 counts of attempted homicide and could be charged with the Race Street shooting as well.
Based on the amount of shots fired, the trajectory of those bullets fired into the police car, the location of the officers in the car, it's very amazing they weren't shot, and we're very thankful that they weren't.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse.
Homewood North resident Jeremy Talkish fears for the safety of his 2 young children.
I definitely know that the Crips and the Bloods and all these gangs are definitely coming back. I don't know the exact details, but I know the gangs are coming back.
To say we're on anything other than cloud 9 right now is an understatement.
Sidney Crosby isn't even a Penguin yet, but club president Ken Sawyer says he's already paying dividends. Calls are coming in from 10 states and Canada for season tickets. There hasn't been that kind of fan response since Mario came out of retirement a few years ago.
He's a very strong skater, and I think the most important thing that he has is he sees the ice very well. He can anticipate to play very well for a young kid like that, and I was really impressed to see how good he was at 17 years old.
Mario calls Crosby a phenom, just like he was 20 years ago when he too was the overall #1 pick.
Shoots and scores!
And there's plenty more for the Pens fan base to get excited about. The new labor agreement means the once struggling franchise won't be forced to dump big salary players anymore. And the rule changes are going to lead to more scoring. A talented Pittsburgh team should benefit.
It's going to be very, very exciting, especially for a team like us. We're going to be highly skilled.
But will the Pens be playing those games in a new arena, or will they have to leave town? That's a question no one can answer right now. But the buzz that's building about the future of this franchise can only boost the chances of getting a new place to play.
The arena's going to happen. This certainly helps us, to get a player like that and solidify the franchise for the next few years. And having the excitement back in the franchise, so that's certainly going to help.
I'm thrilled about where we are and where we're going, and we're going to try to add a few more pieces in the next 10 days or so, and we're excited about getting the season started. I wish it could start right now.
In recent weeks, 9,000 Americans a day have been filing for bankruptcy protection. Those are record numbers, and hundreds of them live right here in western Pennsylvania.
Oh, it's been very busy, that's for sure.
They've been filing, says bankruptcy lawyer Paul Goltz, before big changes go into effect on Monday. Changes in the bankruptcy law that make it harder to wipe out their debt.
Under the new law, the intent is to have more debtors file under Chapter 13.
Some filers with higher incomes will now have to make payments.
And if the disposable income is $100 or more a month, then you will have to file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy and pay at least $100 a month over a 5-year plan.
The new law also calls for debtors to get professional financial counseling.
It's just to make a person who has not been thoughtful in his or her expensing to have a better understanding on how to budget.
After years of debate on Capitol Hill, the changes to the bankruptcy code were approved back in April, 150 changes in all.
I think it's good law. It's been well thought out.
And designed to benefit debtors and creditors alike. Andy Briggs, Fox 53, 10 o'clock news. Demonstrators gathered in front of the military recruiting office on Forbes Avenue, just as they did last Saturday. But unlike a week ago, this protest was peaceful. There was no confrontation with police. The last time, officers used tasers and a police dog to control the crowd after a freelance cameraman working for Fox 53 said he was hit by one of the demonstrators. There were several arrests.
There's an increasingly polarized atmosphere. I think this administration has tried to portray anyone who doesn't agree with them as traitors and terrorists. And I think that the police, unfortunately, even our local police, are buying into that model.
With college students returning for the fall semester, the Pittsburgh organizing group says they want to get their message out concerning what they deem are aggressive recruiting tactics being used by the armed forces.
We're here on the sidewalk. This is an area that's traditionally safe for free speech, and we're going to continue to put our message out here.
And if these demonstrations do continue, organizers vow they won't be intimidated by police. And Pittsburgh police say they'll continue to monitor the protests, as they did again today.
So we have people who are expressing themselves. The people driving by, as you can hear, there's a very good reaction. Everything is very orderly, and the police are observing, and that's fine. So today's a good example of how things should go.